does anyone, so when I was first becoming aware of music, I'm about to do a lyrical name that tune, and it's unfair, probably if you're under 45, but what the hell, right? Um, so a lot of the music that I've been different periods in my life, and you should ask yourself this sometime too. I think it's kind of fun to know what music when imprinted you. So different ages imprinted me, like where I remember music more from certain ages than others. And one of them, when I was the little kid, and I was the youngest, and I had older siblings, and I was always trying to be cool and listen to music that they were listening to. And then, that I'm 59, so I was, born in 65. So in the early 70s, I'm not really aware of music till about 75, 76, but then there's a lot of music happening in there, right? And I was trying to be cool. So here's a lyrical name that tune. So I'm trying to hint you off that we're talking a little bit older here, but these are iconic tunes, right? And I think this one's kind of unfair that I'm going for. Don't let me hear you say life's taking you nowhere. Angel, right? And then he sings Angel. This person's got an unbelievable voice. Come on, get up, my baby. Look at the sky. Life's begun. Nights are warm and the days are young. Come on, baby. My baby's lost. That's all. Once I'm beginning, save her little. Well, I'll just stop there. Don't let me hear you say life's taking you nowhere. Does that ring a bell for anybody?
It's Bowie.
Bully?
Bowie. David Bowie.
Yes, Bowie, she got it.
Did you
That's
know?
a good one. But can you name the freaking song?
It's called Golden something.
Golden Years. She wins enough, right? You know the song, anybody? It's one of the iconic
Yeah.
Mhm,
ways David Bowie's voice is just on display.
mhm.
It's like so freaking good, right? Um, so that's, and unfortunately, a lot of us, we need more youngin' people in our group, but a lot of us are, you know, it's easy to look at your life when you're getting older and going, hey, you know, don't let me hear you say life's taking you nowhere. People think we're playing out the string. What are the ways in which what are the opportunities open and opportunities gaining because you're getting older? See, I'm about to enter where apparently my true spiritual life can't begin until November of this year. So 60, they say. So I'm thinking, shit, I got to get prepared for this time. Lisa, your hands up. Is that an on purpose? You got to unmute yourself.
I was just saying that I recognized the song because I am old as you are.
Yeah. No, and it's I mean, I remember like I was kind of freaked out. When you look back in time, David Bowie was one of the first kind of almost cross-dressing dudes early on. You know what I mean? He was wearing makeup, his Ziggy Stardust parodied all these things I remember being kind of freaked out when I'm 8 and 10,
Oh,
thinking about, like he's being whatever he's being. He went through all these different iterations. He was one of those people I was fascinated with as a little kid. Um, all right. So sit up straight and tall. Good job, Laura Hallisey. I
Thank
can't
you.
believe you're actually back on the call. She's been ignoring us for a while. Have you noticed
No, I was
anything?
just ignoring you. I wasn't ignoring anyone else.
Well, ouch. Yeah, so what changes in the opportunity to feel sensation besides an increase of pain? What happens in terms of the opportunity to feel sensations in your golden years? So, you know how they say California is the state of the golden sun? You ever heard that being one of their monikers? There is something about the quality of sun that I lived there for 6 years when I was in graduate school. And there is something about the quality of golden sun, which reminds me a little bit of what happens in Minnesota, kind of around 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the summer. There's a different quality of sensation as the sun is slightly beginning its downward arc and it illuminates slightly differently. Do you know that period of time I'm talking about? That period of time when things are, and there's something about that sun feeling a little golden. And maybe there's a reason why it's called golden years, right? And when it comes to perceiving sensation in your body, maybe there's an opportunity. So as you sit up straight and tall and you try to create structure, right? Your feet on the floor or on the foot pedals like me, sitting bones, right? And before you start trying to do anything, like broadness, tips of your shoulders, where your head fits in between. So you're trying to get kind of the structure provides the opportunity to have kind of a static picture on which the sensations fill in, right? So you get the structure, because you've heard me say many times a line that perhaps some of you have gotten things out of, but maybe you think it's a throwaway line and a weird line coming from my mouth. Prana rewards structure, right? You can't just be in your head and feel sensation. The body provides the opportunity for a structure. You've also heard lines from me like, in order to truly receive, you have to have discipline, right? So it's not just how much you furrow your brow, like, I'm going to feel this, damn it, right? As soon as you start feeling furrowing your brow and your will gets involved, like, I'm going to understand this, the relationship to sensation has been a lot lost. Now, keep mapping this against what I mean, what I'm trying to say by golden years and golden sun, right? Take some discipline, but I'm trying to let something fill in. The sensation of space, realizing the potential of empty space, takes golden years, golden sun. Balance your head over your neck. So you've got your feet on a grounding, your sitting bones, the tips of your shoulders, balance your head over your neck. As you have the structure, there's a natural rise that you get to receive. And notice that came from feeling the downward energy of the base, creating the structure and letting something fill in. That a younger person is going to go, wait, I want to move, I want to get going, right? But we're trying to be patient. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. That energy might help you balance your head over your neck. You're trying to watch emerging sensations and then go with it. You're not just quieting your mind. You're finding there was more happening. So now action starts to begin. Very gently roll your inner upper thighs, even if you can't do it, slightly in and down. Broaden across the sacrum. Allow an extension from your inner groin to your inner knee down to your inner heel. And notice trying to actualize that little bit of structure and action. There's an opportunity to differently lift your chest. But don't just go vertical. Now broaden between your shoulder blades. As you broaden between your shoulder blades, don't tense the inside of your mouth. More. Beware of more. Don't make doing make you feel less. Now add the way that the air is coming in through each nostril. If you're breathing through your mouth, that's fine too. Just start to notice it. Into each lung. Have that reinforce the structure. Have that help you in the action, especially on exhalation. Do a little bit gently more. Now, as you've engaged action, I'm sure you overdid it. So now as you sit here, pull back just a little bit and let it happen again. If you want to, bring your hands into prayer. Find the midline, more structure, more opportunity, more happening. Can you find your skin? Might be easiest to start with the skin on your face. Ask yourself, where does the sensation of trust originate? What's at its core? Notice the mind wanes. Repose. Rehappen. Begin again. Good, and then release. Take your sternum up towards your chin down over your sternum. Remember, this is going to be a really important position. I keep saying that. I keep saying it, right? Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. So there's this thing that you access in the beginning part. I could talk to you formally about it, like we could call it an aspect of your nervous system. We could call it the parasympathetic nervous system. We could call it a whole bunch of names, all intending you to believe, right? That there's a quieter part of you, right? Now try to bring that with you as you start to wiggle. Remember, we did this. Oh, I guess I taught last week, but it was Bethany's class, right? So I was going to refer to last week's class, but like the idea of being able to bring, yeah, Bethany just abdicated her class and made me teach, right? Right. But the idea was, how do you bring with you the quiet into movement? I'm curious, how do you do that? How do you take centering and start to move with that? Right? How do you add to it without disrupting? You know, one of the things that I find actually, and then release, one of the things I find, I think there's a lot of throwaway lines in yoga classes sometimes, right? And one of them, and people just say it because they've heard it said, and it kind of sounds good on the front end, and you kind of like, eh. And one of them, I like to think of these lines that lines, yogic lines I hear that make me want to throw up in my mouth, right? But I'm a little cynical, right? One of them is stay in the eternal present, right? Or, like all the, whatever the line is, this like kind of affected voice about the present. Have you noticed that the present is always destroyed? It actually doesn't go forward, and you do go forward. So the idea of staying in the eternal present necessarily requires your death. Okay, right? So it's like, wait, actually, you're going to want to repose. You're going to want to begin again and have the present again. You can't stay in the present, right? The present. Who knows this song? The day destroys the night, night divides the day. Does anyone name that band? The Doors. That's one of my favorite lines. Day destroys the night, night divides the day. No, the present's going to constantly get destroyed, right? And that's part of what's cool about it. So as you're moving, you're introducing reference to change. You're making it happen more in your body. So your body is marking the fact that the present is continually destroyed. Right? And then you're trying to figure out how to bring things through time. That's the trick, right? So as you're bringing the centering into some movement, what part of you can keep the picture of this, the feeling of this, of the present in movement, what's necessarily introducing changes in time? Can you do this in your golden years? Can you do it with golden light? This type of stuff is freaking earned. This type of multifaceted awareness, oh dear, take your legs wide. So we're still trying to open up. We're still trying to go, wait, if I can I be aware of simultaneous moments in time without furrowing my brow and thinking I can do it with my frontal cortex? Wait, I could do it. Wait, I'll take the centering, I'll place a tack in it, and then I'll bring it to the movement. Good luck with that. Good luck with your frontal cortex doing anything with time very well, right? So I'm moving around, trying to remember, wait, I'm going to try to be aware. So when I'm sitting here trying to feel my centering, I feel like I have to do that. So I just got so weird. This class just took a weird departure, right? Come back to, we got to like cuddle here for a second. Does anyone, when you try to feel the energy of centering in the movement of moving around, where do you go to keep connected to the energy of centering? What do you do? Does anyone do anything? I think you probably do. I think there's a hint coming from Bika Sangar. I think getting connected to the energy of the past is only possible or is easier if you can keep silence with you. And I think you're probably going to go back away from looking outward to feel the time, the past, right? Notice you don't stare out into the scene in front of you. Your eyes kind of go offline a little bit. You drop back in your awareness. I think there's a line from Biggest Anger that talks about the inner ear is the art of silence. So I think so I'm going to try to remember. Right now, I just did it. My eyes went on a phase. I'm trying to feel back to what the energy of centering was. I withdraw my senses. Actually, you might be activating something you're not quite aware of yet. And now I'm going to move it. And as I lift up this time, instead of like focusing with my frontal cortex on the, I'm going to actually try to bring time with me into a movement. So I'm moving around. Kind of like it. So now let's stop being so inwardly focused, because I know that scares some of you, right? Take your legs wide again. Except some of us need the inward focus, right? Because we can't move as well. And don't tell me inward focus is my imagination. So I'm going to change gravity, lean over, do the beginning of standing poses. If you notice, I've been teaching a lot of standing poses lately, right? Standing, seated poses. So I'm trying to get my spine, I'm pressing down on my legs and I'm lifting my spine out of it, because the differentiation of my spine from my legs matters. It's one of what's really important about standing poses, right? Is to be able to distinguish your upper body from your lower body, right? And then also change gravity and changes positions on your legs. Bring your legs back together. Let's just change gravity forward. Put your hands, I'll just do it with my hands on my chair, on my knees. It's some version of, right? We're gonna call this downward facing dog, and then we're gonna turn it into cobra, right? So I've got my bones. Here's a trick for you. If you become aware of your bones, you're gonna be able to bring time from the past, like centering, more easily forward into movement. Just so you know, it has to do with the bones better. These are all secrets I'm telling you. Doesn't even matter if I put it on a billboard, you won't know it until you practice. Okay, so I'm putting my forearms into my knees, right? And I'm hitting down. And as soon as I hit down, it makes my chest lift a little bit, my sternum lift a little bit, right? And then if I try to go back towards the centering energy, and I move and I access the underside of my arms, right? It lifts my chest a little bit more. And then I'm going to broaden across the collarbones and broaden the space between my shoulder blades. So I'm finding more and more grounding, more and more of that frozen static energy. But then I'm going to broaden the skin on my palms. I'm going to make sure I'm doing all this activation of my upper body to feel more in my legs. We're going to call this connection between the legs and the arms a version of downward facing dog. Look down instead of looking up. So upward facing dog and cobra are going to look up. You're going to look down to keep the focus more on the earth and activate connections. Breathe equally into each nostril, into each lung, or into your mouth and into each lung. Don't forget the underside of your arms. Don't forget about opening your palms. Good, and then release. Come out of it for a second. I always think about when she's still on the call. Is Joe still on the call? Joe Daly? I saw him earlier. But Joe doesn't have the same control over his fingers that I do, for example. But if he activates the center of his palm, it doesn't matter if you can move your fingers, right? As much. So when you're doing down facing dog and you're trying to open and expand, right? So everyone that can open the center of their palm, right? So I'm grounding my elbows on the table, on my thighs, right? And as I do the actions to open the center of my palm, can I make the connection across time, right? And open my chest as the skin on my palms open? Do you know how to make your skin connect to other parts of your body? So you open the skin in one place, you receive it everywhere else too. So if you practice this enough, so I'm looking at Kathy Leche Cheong, right? I think, now let's look at her hands right now. If you can look on her screen, if you see her on the screen, she's overdoing these, what are these, metacarpal, tarsal, I don't even know. She's working these a little bit too hard. And what she's doing is cutting off sensation from the center of her palm, right? JC, can you see how you backed it off? She's smiling now because as soon as she backed it off, she felt more through her whole body, right? Is that right, Kathy? Yeah. How the hell did he see that on the screen? You gotta wonder, right? It's because I've made the mistake of like using my will to overdo here because I want to be a good student, right? Instead of trusting the sensation of the grounding of the earth, the opening of the skin as a touchstone to other parts. There, she's got it. The opening of the skin to the touchstone of the body. But now, can you broaden across your collarbones? Make the space between the shoulder blades open, following the skin on the palms for the guide of how to do it gently. You're with me, right, Kathy? Yeah. And then release. That's how you find things like your skin. So, Kathy, there's a line from Big Iyengar, intelligence enters the poses through the skin, right? Okay. Now think about what just happened when you paid more attention to the skin on your palms and not just the base of your fingers. Your pose got more subtle and more supple. Big Iyengar is calling that intelligence. Makes sense, doesn't it? Can you see how he would call that intelligence? Yeah. All right. That's for everybody. Being able to connect different places in your body instead of just always going to your muscles, right? But being able to let there be a fuller picture, let there be the past, the centering energy in how she opens the skin on her palms. See, you just did it again. Your chest just lightened again, right, Kathy? I just saw it happen again, right? And that's a good time to breathe. So if I was a good teacher, we would just stop class right now. Pretty much everything I could ever pass on just occurred, right? And you got to see it if you got to see Kathy on the screen, right? All right. But I'm trying to use that as how you bring things forward and back, right? So now here's a put your arms down by your sides. So you just learned something about the skin on your palms here, right? And how to have it open parts of your body. The thing I wanted to teach, and I'm getting a little sideways on or try to pass on, is that you can use different parts of your body as entrance points to other parts of your body. So this would be really important for someone like Ellie, right? You're going to have to figure out how to get to different places of your body without having it be physical movement or through sensation, right? All right. So now put your arms at your sides. So this can more easily get to be an overly physical movement, right? Like if and this is how beginning, well, yogis that have been doing yoga for years still do this too. They get really strong, stand at attention. Now you lift on the collarbones, right? You open the chest, you lift here, you hit down, you roll your inner upper thigh in and down. You still extend from the inner groin to the inner knee, but you really do it by activating, right? And you take the tricep back of the muscle towards the bone, you open, right? You lengthen the bicep and you use this to push awareness through your body, right? Now what happens is when you do it that hard, how do you grow in the pose, right? If you just push harder and harder, there's diminishing returns and then release. So you have to get better. So one of the things that I remember, I'm about to give you an instruction that actually changed my life. Okay. And it was from Mary Dunn, and it was in 2002, and I can still remember the instruction. I was at the Angar conference, and she said this, and it's like, I totally did not know this dimension existed, right? And so now put your arms down at your sides, and of course, if you're using your frontal cortex and you're trying to move your arm muscles really good, notice when you do that, you furrow your brow a little bit, but you also tense the inside of your mouth, and a whole bunch of things are not utilizing the magic of Shavasana. And it's through Shavasana you bring centering forward through the present into what's happening again, right? So here, as you engage your arms and you figure out there's a place to make it more subtle, try to open the skin on your palms the same way you did it here. What we saw Kathy do it. So you introduce that level of subtlety that BK singers call intelligence. Now, it's hard to just open your palms directly, right? So you got your arms at your sides and you're trying to figure out not to do this, overdoing the base of your hands, but to actually open the skin. But it's hard to do that. So here's the line that changed my life. She said, well, no, so release your hands. So the instruction that she gave, I have it in the wrong order. The instruction that she gave, put your arms at your sides. She said, arms at your sides. She says, open your elbow pit. So the place in the inner skin, the whiter skin of your elbow, right? The elbow pit. Like if you bend your arm, it's that place that's there. So I'm standing with my arms at my sides. And she said, open your elbow pits. And I'm like, and she said, here's the line she says, like a blinking eyeball. Open the elbow pit, the skin there, like an eyeball opening. I'm like, come on. And she, you sit there and you try to open your elbow pit, but now I can do it like like a blinking eyeball, so I can barely remember how this changed my life, right? And she goes, if you have trouble with that, broaden across your palm to keep your elbow pit company. Open the skin on your palm to keep the elbow pit company. I see some smiles on your face. Is it kind of effing you up? It kind of helps, doesn't it? What the hell, Chuck? How the hell do these yogis know this shit? Right? And then she absolutely whacks out my mind and says, now use that to open the space on the backs of your knees. Open the elbow pit. You have the palm keep the elbow pit company. And now find the skin on the backs of the knees. What the hell is going on? Notice to do that, you're going to want to balance your head over your neck. You're going to want to keep your lips together, teeth slightly apart. Suddenly, you're traveling through your body, through Shavasana, through awareness that comes from the golden years. Breathe. Bill, you're raising your hand. Does that mean you want to say something? No, you're muted, bud. You're muted, bud.
Um, Unmute. There we go. I got to say that, can you hear me?
Yep.
I got to say that I was working yesterday evening on my patio, and I was connecting my elbow to my knee, and I love armpits, and I love knee pits, and I love toe pits, and I love eye pits, and I was trying to get them all pitted in a line, and all of a sudden dimensional time felt really, really, really comfortable. And I had a little bigger understanding of living in many places at once. Thank you very much. I
So I
had to
actually
comment it
think
before I
you
lost it.
might have been smoking a little bit of that wacky tobacco as that happened. However,
I don't.
that's how I feel from yogic awareness all the time, right? Like all of a sudden, all this stuff starts happening, right? So the answer is the whole point of this class was there are mirrors within mirrors that open up your whole body without you being able to move your whole body. So we've introduced two of them, right? And we've done really subtle ones. The thing that I want you to know is that joint awareness, quiet joint awareness, which is why one of the things that it made Bill think about his joints, his pits, they're all joints. Turns out that your brain has more receptors inside of your joints because there's less connection there, so there's more receptors in there. And that practicing joint awareness connects your body, right? So back to your arms at your sides, figuring a way to open a pit here in the center of your palm, connected to your elbow pits, connected to the backs of your knees. Find where your sitting bones are. Get lifted out of your base a little bit as you go down. Make the hip have more dimension. Let that dimension be space in your shoulders. Reconnect to your elbow pits and your palms. Utilize the subtlety of your skin. Make sure that keeps your head balanced over your neck. And mountain pose becomes more magical because its dimension is quieter. Don't forget, even a mountain, there's space between the rocks. Breathe. Good. And then release. You breathe for the space in your body, not for the way where your muscles can control and the space between the muscles, right? So everyone's like going there by on their own, they're starting to rock back and forth because too much of this mental awareness seems too static, right? So you're naturally trying to help yourself process because I've just gone on and on and on about something that doesn't have as much feeling in it, right? So you want to move to make it be outward. I get it, right? Eventually, you train your mind to be able to have movement even in static energy. But that takes practice. Okay, so now your upper arms reflect your thighs. Your lower arms reflect your calves. Now, this is one of the core energetic connections, and your ankles are mirrored by your wrists. Now, kind of by force, you learn this in standing poses if you're a walking around person. It's like blunt awareness, right? So, but I've taught you subtly into what's blunt so you can feel it, right? More. So take your legs wide. So the same type of thing you just did to be able to feel your palms to your elbow pits, and that should have transformed your shoulders and a whole bunch of things, right? Now you're gonna, as you take your arms wide or one arm wide or whatever, you're gonna try to use that awareness of your palms and the elbow pits to also now go, wait, as I move the muscle towards the bone in my upper arm, I'm gonna look for awareness and create awareness in my thighs. And once I get it, lengthen your side waist. Make the space between your hip and your shoulder and your armpit stronger. Good, and then release. Take your arms down. So I want to point something out to you, is that when you took your arms wide and you made the space stronger between your side waist to your side armpit, why, I don't want to give you the answer, right? I'm gonna make you do it again. So I'm taking my space wide. I'm trying to let there be, right, this connection between my upper arm and my thighs. And you don't have to have your arms up. You can do it down here. It's just a little more expansive to do it here. Now, if I make the space between my hip to my armpit stronger, I'm curious, and then release. I'm curious. Take your arm down. If some of you, Angelique in particular, Angelique, are you still on the call? I'm throwing her under the bus in case she doesn't have the answer.
Yes, I am.
So as you made the space to your arms, from your hips to your armpits stronger, what happened in your pose? Muscularly.
Muscularly?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, I was feeling the muscle hugging the bone in my arms.
That's exactly it. Ding, 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 ding.
And
You
it-
should get your mind freaking blown that when you have your arms wide, and I've been telling you about the connection between the upper arm and the legs, that when you make the space long between the hip and the armpit, the muscle goes towards the bone better in the arm. Try it again. You all did. If you drew that line, it did actually happen. Now you get to follow it. Angelique, you get a gold star for like the next 5 classes. Yeah. So again, I've got my leg, and it's a little bit easier to feel the connection between your arms and legs when your arms and legs are wide. Like if I try to teach this to traditional students and they're staying in Tadasana with their arms wide, it doesn't work as well. So now I'm in this space, I'm making the connection internally through the centering part of class, lengthen from the hip to the armpit and watch the muscle. And now can you see why we have to give now instructions to the forearms and the palms in a second? And then take your arms down. So here's a thing that you're learning in traditional dog pose. Stay with me now. Now the class starts to accelerate right at the end, right? If I had done all this before all this other stuff, you would have not heard all that I'm saying, right? In dog pose, put your hands, if you can't, that's why I connected your palms. You could have them against your forearm, against your knee, or have it on the table. One of the things, Bethany, if you pull up a picture of dog pose, any dog pose, right? One of the things that dog pose is teaching you, a beginner that they don't really know, is what the sensations are simultaneously in their feet and their hands. The simultaneous awareness of hands and feet is a really important boundary to let the asana fill in the spaces in between. So there's BK Angar's dog pose, which is a little intimidating, but that's up dog. Yeah, down dog in a second there, right? The point being is you're trying to connect your hands and your feet. And once you do this, so my feet are on the foot pedals. I can't feel my feet on the foot pedals, but I'm going to get there from my palms. And then to make the bridge between my feet and my palms, I have to feel my sitting bones. So my sitting bones have to become more online. And as soon as my sitting bones get more online to connect my hands and my feet, does anybody notice that the muscle goes towards the bone better in the arms? What the hell is going on? And what the hell did the yogis figure out? Breathe. So downward facing dog. So can you tell I'm going to try to get to your arms wide, your legs wide, and your hands and feet together, right? That's where this class is going. Right, so take your legs wide again. But we're gonna take an intervening step. So my legs are wide, my arms are wide, gonna be wide in a second. I'm trying to feel, knowing even before I start, I'm gonna go back to the centering part of class to try to bring time forward. Before I take my arms wide, I'm gonna feel my thighs and my upper arms. And I'm gonna make the connection because I want that going into the pose, right? So now I'm gonna try to take my forearms and find my shins. Good, and then release. Any connection you made between the forearms and your shins, could you feel the invitation to open the skin on your palms? Okay, and once the skin on your palms opens, you can find your feet. All right, the whole class is coming to this one. Right, I'm gonna like sit and make connections. I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna put my hands on my knees for a second. I'm gonna go to my arms at my sides. I'm gonna get the upper arm to my thighs. I'm gonna try to feel where my forearms are and where my calves are. And I'm gonna trust that when I'm wide, I can open the skin on my palms to feel the bottoms of my feet. Right? Here I go. Now I'm gonna lengthen from the sideways to the side armpit to get the upper arms to go together. There go my thighs. I'm gonna figure out how to engage my forearm to feel my shins. Then I'm gonna feel my feet on the floor and get more life there by broadening across my palms. I'm gonna try to balance my head over my neck. And I'm gonna go in every direction in the room at once. From the center of my chest. Center of my chest onto my sitting bones, out to my knees. Out through my arms. Good, and then release. Rock back and forth because that was a little bit intense. So you hear me say lines like, poses don't end at the terminus of your body. And you think, oh, that's just Matt slinging words out his mouth, right? And I've just given you an argument, evidence, not even an argument, that that's just not true. Turns out that the body opens the body. The mind just has to learn to listen. So we've done all this thing. I'm stringing so many beats together. It's too many, and don't worry if it's too many, right? Hear what you hear, right? So what we've done is taken a movement, and there's that line I keep referencing to the last couple of years too. When my body's one, my mind breaks into pieces. So if I just try to, if you to go back, don't do this. I'm going to try to go back in time. If I just started the class like this and gone quick, I would have struggled and my mind would have struggled to keep my arms wide and my mind would have broken to pieces because my will would have tried too hard, right? But then the line from Biggest Angar is when my body's in pieces, my mind can be one. So what we've done throughout this class is start to make the body be more in pieces to the mind. So the mind can be unified in effort. Instead of breaking into pieces to grip the upper arm, press down through the feet, because instructions, if you do them too much with your mind, actually break the mind into pieces. All right, so just for those of you who've been listening to lines over the last couple of years, right? So now we're going to go back. I'm going to put my hands on my thighs. I'm going to make connections between my knees, and I'm going to go and feel like from the beginning of class, from the type of awareness that comes with Golden Sun, I'm going to feel from my knees to my hips. I'm going to feel the space in my hips. Then I'm going to feel the space, the empty space in my shoulders. And I'm gonna then feel the space in my elbows connected to the space in my knees. And make a connection between my wrists and my ankles. And I'm gonna keep all of that from the center between my ears and my eyes not going forward. I'm gonna keep all that and take my arms wide. I'm gonna try to activate muscles indirectly. So feel the length from the side waist to the side arm to the armpit, muscle towards the bone. Once that happens, the upper arms to the legs, elbows to the knees, forearms to the calf, to the shins. Open the skin on the palm, open the elbow pit to feel the bottoms of my feet and backs of my knees. And I'm going to realize that I'm going in the room in every direction. And I'm going to breathe into that. Good. And then release. Bring your legs back together. So think about the difference between if I had taken the arms and legs wide in the very beginning of class and told you to go in every direction, your frontal cortex would have thought it was in charge. And it would have done it. But look at the quality difference because you went through a sequence and you strung the sequence like a string of beads, making a necklace. And I hope you gained a little bit of insight into how a yoga pose moves in every direction at once by seeing the pieces and putting them back to a whole. That awareness is very hard if you're too young. It's very hard not to want to be on the forefront of your experience and wondering about what's next, right? Bringing time together in a yoga pose is really difficult. It takes a level of patience and trust and not blind faith. And so if you had done it in the beginning of class and went in every direction out through your arms and legs, you would have had to use more of your imagination. By going through the sequence, hopefully it was more of your imagination, and you realize that your spine is emanating in every direction, including forward and backward in time. What the hell, Chuck? It's freaking awesome here. All right, so your legs are together. I want you to come forward. So nothing is being hidden from you. The universe is designed to reveal. Has nothing to do with your worth. So I'm going to take my right hand and grab the front of my left knee. I'm going to put my left hand on my left thigh. And I'm going to turn just a little bit. And then I'm going to go and lift my sternum. And as I lift my sternum, all the energy is going in every direction. I'm going to connect my joints. When I have this extra awareness, wouldn't it be harder to overdo the pose and do violence in your own twist? Turns out that expanding awareness leads to nonviolence, not just to dissipation. So much is waiting, and then release. So much is waiting for you to discover, right? And the body teaches it. I'm going to go forward the other way. So again, I'm applying a whole bunch of principles that we just went through. I'm leaning forward here. I'm grounding. I'm feeling not just ground, but now I'm using my elbow pit and my knee and my knee, and I'm connecting it immediately to my sternum, and I'm getting all the joints to start talking to each other, right? And as I inhale and extend my spine and start to turn, feel my ankles to my wrists, my knees to my elbows, my shoulders to my hips, I'm going to twist. I'm going to lift the chest and go in every direction into the room. That's why you lift your chest in yoga poses. It's an expansive, integrative movement. That's the key, one of the keys to asana. And I'm going to breathe into the splendor of it all. And then come on back to center. I'm just going to take a moment. Hope some of you are able to travel on this class, right? I'm going to put my elbows on the table or on my thighs, bring my hands together. We're going to go inward, not stare at anything in particular. And I'm just going to be grateful for a second. I'm just going to let the emptiness turn towards the sun with gratitude. The body reveals so much that the mind can never realize on its own. The realization of this kind of splendor only happens in the golden years. Good, and then release. Find a way to set up for Shavasana. Find a way to let your chair hold you up. Hope you can see why you want your lips together too slightly apart. Hope you can see why you want your mouth to be a cave. Why your belly needs to relax your throat. I hope you can start to realize the instructions as self-evident for Shavasana. Why we might say, feel your ankles and your knees and your hips. Connect them and let them go. Your hips, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, even the joints in your fingers. Let them talk. Let them come home together. As you do this, have the chair hold you up. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body, which is different than gratitude. Thank it again. Start to bring yourself back, slightly deeper inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes. Close them if you need to. Open them again. So one of the things about so the nervous system, the quiet part of the nervous system, is one of the best ways to help the mind trust, right? That the mind has to figure out how to let go and trust enough, you know? So like, how do you know all this weird instructions that we just went through, like upper arm to thighs and stuff, you know? And the mind thinks, well, how can connections like that be true? But hopefully some of you don't get to feel everything that I talked about today, right? But you get to get glimpses of it. And so you have to just kind of trust that if you do it more, it'll get deeper. But what you think is learning more, the mind thinks is learning more, isn't always learning more. Because there's a trust to practice too, right? So you can practice conditions of safety and the sense in the nervous system that allows you to receive more from your practice, right? And it's it's part of the trick. It's why Shavasana is in every pose. Right? All right, so I'll stay on for a while. There was a lot in that class. And as I started to keep layering in like lines from Bigga Sangar and blah, 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 don't worry if you couldn't follow it all, but go back and know the lines I've been saying are true for every single pose we do. The truth of them don't go away. The expression of the experience of when you realize them changes and are in every pose. And when you start to realize that, you get humble in a way that has nothing to do with you being unworthy. You get humble because it's stunning to live in a body. It's stunning to have the type of consciousness we have, right? It's never about how much you know. It's about how much you allow yourself to feel, not just emotionally. All right. All right, everybody, have a great week. My plan is to be back next week, but I got nothing left to teach. After Kathy's hands, there was nothing. Everything was window dressing after Kathy's hands. Namaste. Spirit in me bows the spirit in you.